Okay. Whoa. Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. It's Sunday. Actually, it's Yom Rishon, the first day of the week. Okay, we're going to be a little hot here in Israel today. Not that bad, but I'll tell you what we're looking at. 96, that's bad. Tomorrow, 101. Then we nosedive to 85, then 81. We even dip into the 70s, no rain in sight. It's 73 now. I gotta clear my throat. I think he's doing something with the crops. Meaning the Lord in Israel, the crops in Israel. So we're going to have weird weather, and it's been going on this way for months. So what I'm going to do today is touch on the news. It's not a tremendous amount, and start to give you an idea what to expect that I think is going to occur not in the coming days, not even in more than a week. I think in days, like not even many days, not even, we're not going to go 10 days or, I think it's going to be a very brief period of waiting. And it could be today or tomorrow. And I don't think the world's going to look the same. I'm not saying that our redemption's coming in the next few days, because there's still things that have to happen before redemption. Okay? And we're going to go through all that stuff. And I'll give you my take as to what I think is going to happen. Okay? But I'm not saying the appearing's going to happen this week. I don't think so. I don't think that's it. Okay? I think more of the catastrophic events are going to happen in the next several days. Okay? And that's going to lead to an enhanced siege on Israel. And we're going to see Malachi 3 and everything. It's, it's coming very quickly. Okay. I'm going to go into the live stream. Oh boy, I got to clear my throat. We're going to, boy, I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. I can't talk right. Pray for me to get my throat clear. Maybe I went astray here. I don't know. Okay, we got a live stream. Let me wait for some sound. Gotta wait for this to catch up. Okay, we got a live stream. Yeah. Okay. There's some things I'm not at liberty to talk about right now, in my opinion, but um, I can give you a lot of stuff, though. Okay. So I'm not going to put up posts. If you want to get offering information, it's in the description box. And if you want my email address, it's in the description box. It's Israel Giving with the digit 7, Israel Giving number 7 at the end of that at gmail.com. You can send in questions, prayer requests, and so forth. I'm going to start with some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, let's talk. Let's start with Gaza. So Israel has number of military units inside Gaza. All kinds of stuff, airborne, commandos, Golani Brigade, this brigade, it's loaded, okay? And what they're doing is they're having very little face-to-face or small arms confrontations with the Hamas. They've moved many, many, many of the civilians out of the northern part of Gaza where the Hamas is located with the PIJ and the other jerks. And they're not giving up the hostages, and they're not surrendering, and they're not giving in to anything. So what they're doing is the soldiers are spotting the terrorists, and then they're eliminating them with airstrikes, artillery, and so forth. So there's an extremely low casualty rate. Now, the actual progress, and I understand we got 85% of Gaza land under our control now. The progress is rather slow because these derelict Hamas have planted a lot of explosives, booby traps, if you will, around Gaza. So what we have to do is send heavy equipment in, like bulldozers with a rake or a bucket, and they plow up the roads in the dirt, and they detonate the explosives. The explosives can't be down too deep. If you put it 8 feet down, you know, the pressure of walking on top of it isn't going to trigger it. You got to put it down a few inches, a foot, maybe even at the, you can't go very deep at all. So the bulldozers are armored and they can sustain the blast of the IED. And the guy's basically in a protected cage. And these big buckets and rakes that they use are, the steel's probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick or something. And these explosives just bounce off it. It doesn't do a thing to it. And they are plowing up the explosives, and then these soldiers can move and advance. So they're destroying homes. So they don't want the people going back to the north. They're destroying homes, and they're destroying tunnels and anything that they could attribute to Hamas is getting destroyed. Okay? So it's just a matter of another couple of days, I guess, or a brief period of time, and they'll have 100% control. Now the humanitarian aid is coming in, and people are stealing it again. Hamas, other people we don't know, and they suspended the distribution of the humanitarian aid, not the bringing it in. And some American companies have been dealing with the distribution, and they've been failing because it's been getting stolen. So they are regrouping and coming up with another game plan, which is probably going to take another day or two or something like that. It's not going to be a long process. Meanwhile, the Gazans got flour and other things, and they're categorizing things. They're breaking it down to there's food, humanitarian aid, and there's other stuff. Other stuff would be cooking fuel. I don't think they're bringing motor vehicle fuel in anymore. Maybe, but I don't think so. Cooking fuel, I think. And maybe medical, and there's a lot of tents waiting to be brought in. I understand. So this is irritating the Arab world, of course. And I don't know how anybody's going to get the hostages back. If they are or not, I don't know. The Lord can work that out, but I'm unclear about, just looking at it with secular military tactics, it sounds dismal. Will Hamas surrender? 10% chance, maybe. Some of them probably will, but in terms of a corporate surrender, okay, we give up, we'll leave Gaza forever, that would spare their lives, I think, but that would involve giving all the hostages back, and where are they going to go? Who's going to take them? I don't know, There's about 30,000 of them. So it looks like Israel's going to have to just polish them off. Eventually, the Lord will have a hand in that. Some will repent and serve the Lord. That's the prophecies. Okay, so the casualty rate is low. The progress is slow but steady. And that's what's going on. Hezbollah is not doing anything. Syria is not doing anything. Yemen keeps trying to lob missiles over here. And the only thing they're accomplishing with that is causing airline flights to not want to come and go out of Israel, and making everybody run into the bomb shelters during the night or the day. That's really their goal. And there was some problems in Yemen yesterday. They had an underground rocket fuel facility blow up and burn. Their port, one of their other ports, had an explosion, and they're having, Israel did not say they did any airstrikes, which most likely means they didn't. So maybe they're using sabotage, which, how could that be? Well, they could be recruiting Yemen people to do it, or they could be, we could have infiltrated with commandos that snuck in from the water probably, and they speak the language and they have the culture, and they know the culture, they have the money, and they did it. I don't think so. I don't know how it happened, okay? It could have been accidental, but I don't think so, but it could have been. I don't know. I don't think Israel would just send commandos into Yemen, because it's not going to work for sabotage unless they have support system from a resistance, so to speak, in Yemen that could provide housing, communications, things like that, help them get out afterwards. And I don't think so. I mean, getting out would likely involve going out on a little raft some miles, and then a submarine would surface, and they would get in the submarine rather rapidly. So before anybody could do anything, they would be in the submarine and out of there. So the whole recovery would probably be 15, 20 minutes or something like that, maybe less. Then they get in the submarine dives, and they're out of there. That would be the recovery I expect. Other options could be bringing a helicopter in, but I don't think so. I don't know any. I don't know what happened here. Something happened. It's very suspicious. We don't know what. Okay. The so-called nuclear talks with Iran are dead now. Okay. And that means that the fulfillment of the prophecy against Elam, which is Iran, parts of Iraq possibly, and parts of Syria possibly, is probably coming into play in the immediate future. Trump is not in any kind of a position to just turn around and say, well, the Iranians don't want to negotiate. I'm out of here. I'm going back to America with my troops. I don't care about this. He can't do that. He painted himself into a corner. He threatened Iran, 15, 20 times, and Witkoff threatened him, Hegseth threatened him, Rubio threatened him. The whole administration basically threatened them, and 200 members of Congress wrote him a letter and said, we will accept nothing less than the destruction of their nuclear facilities. And how does Trump reverse and say, well, let's leave it alone? And, he has to do something now. He painted himself in a corner. He made himself look weak with the Houthis. But the Houthis did stop firing at American ships. So they did do that. There isn't much civilian vessels going around the Red Sea to fire at these days, except the friends of the Houthis, I'm sure, like Russian ships and Chinese ships, and, they could cross, Now, this is what you need to understand, okay? How does Iran stop the flow of the oil from the Persian Gulf without attacking American bases and other countries' oil refineries, ports, and piers? It's easy. Iran has a small fleet of miniature submarines and other kinds of submarines. They probably got about 24. Some of these submarines, especially mini submarines, have the capability of laying or planting naval sea mines. Okay? A mine is of various categories. Okay? A reasonably potent mine would have 200 to 500 pounds of explosives. Okay? It depends what it's going to hit, They could have 1,000 or 2,000 pounds, but I don't think they're going to lay anything that big out of little submarines. There's all kinds of mines, okay? They have the ability of anchoring them to the sea floor in a way where they're going to float so many feet under the surface. It could be 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, whatever they want. They pick up a magnetic signal from a ship passing overhead, and then they detonate. So the force occurs not against the body of the ship. See, if you had an old World War II landmine that had the sensitive spikes in there, which were probably magnetic too, I guess, and they would come in contact with the boat and then detonate. So you have a boat, let's call this the boat, and this is the mine. So it comes up against the boat, and only a small portion of that force goes against the wall of the boat or the fuselage, and it would, of course, make a hole. And if it's below the waterline or at the waterline, the hole could be very dangerous. Okay? Now, if you have the mine underneath the boat, then the force is going to go up and it could break the bow of the boat, depending on the boat, causing an immediate sinking. Much more of the force is going to hit that boat. Okay. They probably developed the mine to have the force go upward. Okay. Now, you can do other types of mines too. They could have floating mines that are anchored, you know. So the Straits of Hormuz is not a massive, big body of water, and it's got a pincher point where it's, some miles wide. You can just mine that, and the Iranians can make a map of where the mines are and avoid them. And you could put, I don't know, 40 or 50 mines in there would be sufficiently super dangerous for any ship to go through. How long would it take Iran to do that? I don't know, a day, 2, 3. And they would just tell everybody there's mines, don't come. And then you start getting the owners of the ships don't want their ships going there. Insurance companies start canceling insurance. And so then what happens? Does the Americans and everybody else, and Israel's not going to do anything about that, okay? They don't care. They're just going to sit back. Iran wants to mine the Straits of Hormuz. Well, we'll go fight Gaza, and, whatever they do, they do. We'll see how it turns out. They're not going to get involved. So America, and maybe the UK and other countries, would be peeved because their oil is being cut off. Of course, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and maybe Saudi Arabia to some extent, or Jordan, their oil is moving through and Oman. Although Oman is kind of out of the Straits of Hormuz, but it's going to impede a lot of oil flow. So prices will go up. I don't think they're going to go to $200 or $300. They might go to 120, 100. It'd be annoying. So what America has to do is bring minesweepers in and start trying to locate these mines and detonate them. Okay? The problem is minesweepers are, probably a 200, 300 foot boat that is not a combat vehicle, it's a support vehicle. So it doesn't have the protections. So you got to protect this vehicle with destroyers and missile cruisers and things like that. Now, in the Straits of Hormuz, Iran can lob all kinds of missiles and drones at the minesweeper and probably take it out. They could also send go-fast boats to take it out. They got a number of options to take these minesweepers out. And if the destroyers get up there with the minesweepers, it's a little dangerous because they gotta wait for the minesweeper to clear the mines. So Iran has a very good option here to shut the Straits of Hormuz. Now, it may not just go to 100, 120 a barrel. It may go higher out of fear, okay? At the same time, I have no doubt that they would try to get the Houthis to attack the Aramco oil refinery in Saudi Arabia. And then you would see $200-300 oil. So Iran can easily shut the Straits of Hormuz. And that, again, is playing chicken with America. What's America going to do? We didn't attack their bases. We didn't attack anybody. We just laid mines. Are they going to go to war over that? I don't know. So then America would have to call minesweepers in. That's 2 weeks, right? Then they got to start the operation. They got to figure out how to protect the minesweepers. It's a mess. Now, the other things Iran could do is attempt to attack Diego Garcia now, a preemptive. You see, there may still be some B-2 bombers, by the way, in Diego Garcia. I'm not entirely certain every one of them was removed. I can't say that for sure. But they did bring 4 B-52s in. B-52s they could take down from the air if they got radar and missile systems ready that are surviving attacks. B-2 bombers, F-35s, F-22s, they can't do much about. So, but they can attack on the ground. So what they have to do is sneak container ships that fire missiles. Now, some of their so-called container ships actually have missiles under the deck of the hull, the top deck, right? And they could open the deck up and fire missiles from launches that are below the deck. They need to get about 200 miles from Diego Garcia. They got others where the missiles are in containers on ships. They got others where they have drones, and they launch huge amounts of drones off the deck. So they have to get 1 or 2 or 3 or something like that of these ships about 200 miles away from Diego Garcia. And then they start a coordinated swarm attack of missiles and drones to deluge Diego Garcia and destroy these planes on the ground. So America has to make sure that they know about everything coming in within 200, 250 miles. Now, if they're just going to do a drone attack, they could probably even do that at 300-400 miles, because the drones have a long distance they can travel, so they can maybe even go further, but probably at least 300 or 400 miles they could still do it. So how the heck does America protect Diego Garcia from ships getting within 200 miles of it on all sides? That's a good question. Are they doing it? Or do they know how to do it, or can they do it? I don't know. It seems to me that the safest way for Iran to start would be to lay the mines, because that's unlikely to cause a retaliation. If they start attacking the oil refineries and the ports and piers to ship the oil out in the other countries, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, that's going to cause military action. But they might think they can get away with the laying of the mines. Now, they're also nuts, and they may do a multi-pronged attack, laying the mines, okay, which is going to stop American warships from traveling in and out of the Persian Gulf for some days anyway. Like I said, it's probably going to be 2 weeks to get minesweepers in the area. They can also attack Diego Garcia for whatever that's worth. And they can also attack the ports, piers, and oil refineries and the military bases of America in the Middle East using Iraq, which still has large amount of the Iranian-backed militias in it. And it's easy for Iran to bring missiles into Iraq. They come in by land. It's child's play. And they could attack other countries and Yemen too, and the whole Middle East could light up. Iran knows that Trump's painted into a corner, and they're playing a game of chicken with him, but they're also mentally ill, the Iranians. Not that Trump is so sane either. He's not. He's not what he looks like he is. So these lunatics may actually just start destroying each other now. I don't know. But there also comes the sleeper agents. Now, China's got them in America. Hamas, Hezbollah, probably Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Yemen, Iran, all of them, got loads of sleeper agents in America. And they may figure that they have to unleash this. Now, America has alienated all their allies with their sanctions, their tariffs, rather. And the nations are not submitting to America. They're not going over to Trump and saying, "You're right, we took advantage all these years. We'll come up with the tariff." See, what Trump's trying to do is get those tariffs flowing, which the people are going to be paying for due to enhanced prices, right? Rising prices to cover the tariff. And the people don't understand that. And then he could eliminate the taxes with the IRS and look like a hero and get a third term of office. Okay? He's talking about the Golden Dome defense system. Do you have any idea how many missile systems of that nature he would need to cover America's borders? I'll break it down for you to some extent anyway. In a minute. The way this would work for America, in my opinion, well, how many substantial large cities do you have in America? 400, 300? I mean, let's just take a look at California, okay? Just for starter. San Diego is a big city, right? Okay. Los Angeles, a big city, and there's about 4 or 5 other big cities around Los Angeles. Then as we move up higher, you have Santa Cruz, you have Bakersfield, You have San Francisco, Oakland, Silicon Valley. Then you get into Sacramento. You got 10 or 12 big cities, right? Go to Florida. You got Miami, you got Fort Lauderdale. Then, of course, you're going to worry about Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach, right? Because of Trump. You got Jacksonville. And what am I missing? You got Tallahassee. You've got the Panhandle out in the Gulf of Mexico with its military bases. I think Top Gun is there and some other stuff. And around Panama City, you have the F-22 Raptor base, and you got the Capitol. You got 7 or 8 substantial cities you'd need to protect, right? And you got 48 lower states. Now, some states you'd have to only protect 2 or 3, 4 cities, but some would be rather large. New York, well, you'd have to protect all the 5 boroughs, the suburbs. Then you have to get the state capital. Then you got New Jersey, and So I mean, to say maybe 300 cities need protection is the minimum, I think, for America. Okay. Now, how many missile systems in the Golden Dome, are you going to need for a city? Well, Los Angeles is huge, right? So you can't just set up, 2 or 3 of these Golden Dome anti-aircraft missile systems. You probably have to set up 30. Sprinkle them all around the Los Angeles area. And then you have to do it in Fort Worth and Dallas and Miami and Atlanta and Chicago and New York and Seattle and Portland and blah, 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 blah. Right? So now you're up in the thousands of these systems. You probably have 2,500, 3,500 of these systems. Now, the other way Trump can play the game is to put them just on the borders of America. It would probably be a similar amount of missiles. And just try to knock them down when they're coming over from the oceans into America. That's another way it can be done. Not the best way, though. Now, what Israel does is it uses a multitude of missile systems, not just the Iron Dome. We use the Iron Dome, and we use David's Sling and the Arrow 2. Short-range stuff, the Iron Dome. Then we got mid-range and we got long-range, and then on top of that we have some THAAD missile systems for long-range ballistic missiles. So you need probably 3 different types of missile systems set up around these cities. I understand that the time frame on this is 3 years, which means 4 or 5. But Trump would try to get it done before the next election so he could have a 3rd term. But prophetically, it's a joke. Disregard it. It's never going to come to pass. So America is virtually undefended from missile attacks and drone attacks. It's not defended. Yes, fighter jets can take down drones. Taking down missiles is very hard. but drones they can take down. Helicopters can take them down. So this Golden Dome, you forget about it. It's never going to happen, okay? So there's a point in time, which I think we've arrived at, where Russia's getting their head handed to them now. Russia evacuated, we think, about 1,000 government officials from Moscow by planes, and we don't know where they took them because they turned off their transponders. Does America know where they took them? Probably. But we don't got it. They probably had some bunkers they took them to for continuity of government. They've been attacking Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine, and Ukraine's been attacking Moscow. And they're afraid that if you're going to get enough attacks on Moscow, the infrastructure of Moscow is going to break down, the electricity, the sewage, the water, transportation, all of that. And they do have underground bunkers in Moscow, but they're not into relying on that for some reason. Probably because they could keep the government officials alive in the bunker, but they would have no infrastructure for the government to operate anymore in Moscow, so they could probably operate the government from some bunker or hidden location, or maybe you put in the mountains somewhere where they have everything, they got backups to the drives, to the computers, and, they can run things. So what we need to glean from this is there's not a single prepper or survivalist or one of these fear-mongering sites reporting the news that will ever tell you this, but they probably aren't even thinking about it, is that the whole world has been lied to for many decades about the might of Russian military. Ukraine is handing them their head. Ukraine's nothing. That's it. So they were lied to us and got us to fund a huge military to protect ourselves from Russia. Is China really more powerful than Russia? Well, their military is much larger, and for that reason, they're more dangerous. Okay? Beyond a shadow of a doubt, they're more dangerous because of the size alone. And they do seem to have good technology. They just demonstrated one of their 4.5 generation jets taking down Rafale fighter planes from France in India that were never taken down before. So they're pretty advanced. And Iran has some decent missiles, to say the least, and drones. And North Korea, I don't know, it's just a lunatic asylum over there. So what I think we're going to be seeing is the daughter of Babylon getting it very shortly, days. And it's probably going to run as a result of a combined result. The Iranian situation with America backing Israel, the tariffs, the sanctions, the arming Ukraine. So the whole collection of American enemies, the big ones, which is Russia, North Korea, China, and Iran, and you got Venezuela and Cuba and Belarus and others, is likely going to rise up against America. And America's going to get it hard. It says in a day and an hour, it's going to be suddenly, it's going to be unexpected. It'll start in D.C., and then the Lord's going to kindle fires in and around her cities. It's going to be going fast. Now, remember he told us that there's wars and rumors of wars with the signs, but the end is not yet. I should read it to you. Let me look at the live stream real quick. If you don't buy it, that's fine. You don't have to buy it. You're not presenting an alternative, though. So anybody could say I disagree, but what's your alternative? Okay. Let's find that. It's in Matthew 24. Let's see if we can find out where. I gotta find the verse. I'm digging here. Okay, it's up at the top. Let's start in verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That's the churches of the Antichrist, okay? They say that, he is the Messiah, and then they create other gospels and preach another Jesus and all this kind of stuff. Okay. That's the church world, all 2 billion people of them. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. We've been hearing that, okay? See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Now, he's not talking about the end of the world. He's talking about the end of the age. Okay? So the wars don't terminate or end the age. And we haven't seen that many wars. There's skirmish wars and, Ukraine and Russia have been knocking the lights out. Israel's been having war. There's wars and rumors of wars, but that's not going to bring an end to the nations. Okay? For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Earthquakes are up, this weird storms, and weather is up, volcanoes, which is columns of smoke, is up. All these are the beginning of the birth pangs. Okay, but we're coming to the actual travail, the birth of the nation in a day. And that's the appearing of the sign of Son of Man in the clouds. So, with everlasting life coming. So, that's the end of the age, okay? Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and should kill you, and you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. Well, he was addressing that to them. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. That's sort of been going on a long time. and many false prophets. That's been going on a long time. And because lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. That we're experiencing now. Okay. So the wars and the rumors of wars don't bring an end to it. So my point is this. We know Jeremiah 30 verse 11 and Jeremiah 46 verse 28 tell us that all the nations that the Lord scattered the Israelites into will be destroyed, which is probably about almost all of them, or all of them, is likely not going to happen by war. It could, but I don't think so. Maybe war would be a contributing factor, but I think it's going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah. He's going to destroy Jehovah's going to destroy the nations in the day of vengeance. Okay? Now, let's use some Bible logic. In the Daughter of Babylon passages in Jeremiah 50 and 51, we read that the attackers are going to loot and pillage the United States, get the food, the wealth, the rich stuff, right? And he's giving that to them as a reward because he's putting them on the United States to get rid of them. And that, so if they attack the United States and they collect all the loot, and then they die there in the United States, that doesn't line up with what the Lord's doing. Because he's going to let them, I believe, take the loot with them. Although we don't read of them getting out with the loot, I expect they do. Maybe I'm wrong and they get killed, but we don't read that either. So because he's letting them get the loot like as a reward, I think they get out with it. And the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous, and it'll eventually revert to us. So what does that tell us? Well, that would tell us the Daughter of Babylon is going to go before, okay, the nations get destroyed. Because if they all got destroyed, you know, how is the people from that attacked the Daughter of Babylon, America, going to get back home? And, you know, how are they going to lay siege against Israel? See, I believe the siege has to be more stronger or more enhanced, okay? So this is my thoughts, my thinking, that when the DOB gets hit, and it's going to get hit, and the Lord starts with the fires there and everything, well, now the enemies, which are Satan's chosen people, the Muslims, terrorists, are going to say, the Muslims in general probably are going to say, well, now let's go cook Israel's goose, because we don't have to worry about America. Okay? So then they'll start with the siege against us, much worse than what we're seeing now. Egypt's in place with 100,000 plus soldiers in Sinai Peninsula. Yemen's in place. Saudi will turn against us. Jordan likely to. Iraq and probably Syria and the Hezbollah in Lebanon, you know. And that the two witnesses are going to take care of. It's not going to be a really long siege, you know. We haven't seen the temple come down yet, the next temple, which is not New Jerusalem. But we do see it in Malachi 3. And that precedes the glory of God of Israel going into it. First, there's a temple without him. We haven't seen Elijah training the Levites in Jerusalem to do the sacrifices and get the blessings of the law, to clean them up so they're doing it in righteousness, and then the blessings of the Lord come on Israel, and that, I believe, then the two witnesses burn all the enemies up, and right probably after that the glory of God of Israel comes. If he was there, I think he would be destroying the enemies. So I don't think he's there yet in the temple when that happens. When the enemies get burned up in Zechariah 12:6 by the two witnesses. Now, what I'm talking about to you is completely foreign to the church. The chances of a lot of these people coming out of the church is still real. It is. But it's looking more dismal to me in my flesh now, but it's still, God could do it. They haven't yet realized that they've been led a line of malarkey all these years, but when America gets hit, they're going to realize it. And maybe some will come out. I don't know. It's, repentance is possible. They got to repent of all this church garbage they've been steeped in and preaching to others and everything, but that's not the unforgivable sin. But, I'm not overly optimistic about this right now, but it could happen. I don't know. See, God's going to do things in very brief periods of time. Daughter of Babylon gets it suddenly in a day and an hour, So if they get it, will the whole world be a different place? Oh, yeah. If Iran gets it, and they both get it, yeah, then the world's going to be a big different place. Now, we apparently do wipe out Yemen because it says the remnant of them become our possession, in other words, slaves. So we're the ones that take care of Yemen, not America. Now, in Jeremiah 49, Elam, which would be Iran and possibly Iraq and Syria, or pieces thereof, gets destroyed by her enemies, plural. And the destruction is so great that all the people of Elam, Iran, have to leave and scatter into all the countries where the sword follows them and cuts them off. They reap what they sow, what they're trying to put on Israel. But the point here is this. Just attacking the nuclear facilities would never cause all the people to leave. Just attacking the 12 missile cities would never cause all the people to leave. As I've been telling you, I don't think these missile cities built into mountains and the underground nuclear facilities are going to be able to be really destroyed. So I think the only way you're going to have to shut down Iran is to just take out their whole infrastructure. Military bases, the airports, the ports, the piers, bridges, overpasses, train lines, dams for water, oil and natural gas pipelines, refineries, maybe even cities. Iran may have missiles placed in their cities discreetly. They could be in warehouses, And they open the roof of the warehouse. Now, they would do that as a human shield, thinking the enemies would not attack them because they're located right near housing for civilians. See how they operate? So that could cause the cities to go up. So if Iran does, what would Iran have to do to make her enemies destroy the country so bad everybody has to leave? You got to understand, it has to be like Gaza for that to happen, something like Gaza. Now, I don't know what countries will join in on this. I would expect the high probability Israel, America, UAE, and it. You might have India, you might have Italy, you might have, I don't know, Poland, Germany, I don't know. Depends what Iran does. Iran may start attacking Europe too, at the same time as other places. I don't know. But it has to be, I mean, this is going to be not, I don't think, something that's going to happen in 15 minutes, you know. It could be a week or something, or 2 weeks, or I don't know. Rest assured that Iran is mentally ill. The leader's a psycho, okay? And psychos get away with things for a while and then they make mistakes. Well, I believe there have been serial killers in America that have gone on a rampage and killed many people and never got caught. There's not a whole lot of those, but there are some. They made a movie about one called The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I think it was in the 20s or maybe the 30s, and this guy was running around some town in the South, I don't know, Alabama or something, and people would be sitting in their house in the warm weather with the windows open. They didn't have air conditioning back then. They had fans, you know, listening to the radio. They didn't have TV, and he would shoot them through the open window from outside, just to, you know, assassinate them from probably 15 feet away or 20 feet. So you just took his pistol, aimed steadily at their heads or their torso, and fired. And they never got him, as far as I know. I don't think they ever caught him. There was a serial killer in Berkeley in the late 70s named Stinky that would break into houses and wait for the woman to come home that always had a child and use the child, threatening the child to get compliance out of the women, and he was killing women and raping them in front of the children and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they never caught him, and he did quite a few. There was another nut around 72 or 73 that was driving around the streets of San Francisco with a van, Zodiac killer, and shooting people. And I was in New York when this was happening, but I was talking to a friend of mine in San Francisco. He was a martial arts friend, and he told me he was going with a gun everywhere. He was scared, and this was a tough guy. I mean, he was a tough guy, okay? He used to work as a bouncer in nightclubs. This guy was a tough dude, and he was nervous about that, you know. This Zodiac was terrorizing the city, you know, and he never got caught. No, never. Mm-mm. So that goes on, you know, and they never got him, you know. I don't think today we don't see this anymore because I think just the the tide is not there. It's terrorists now that do the killing, not the serial killer, you know. But there's been a lot of serial killers, you know. and they don't all get caught. There's a lot of theories about them. They just age and stop. They get sick and die. They have an accident and die. Or they're trying to perpetrate a crime and somebody shoots them some burglar. But, you know, in these communities where, like in Berkeley, where they had Stinky going around, you know, if they found him shot as a burglar, the cops would realize he smells like Stinky. They'd call the Berkeley police and they would figure out Stinky decided to be a burglar or got shot as a burglar, and, you know, but that never happened. So why do the serial killers stop? I don't know. It could be for different reasons. You know, what it can also be is they get scared. They are, the ones that get away with it are very frequently, of course, they're demented in the head, but they also are rather intelligent and know how to plan crimes and stuff. And they just see that the cops are closing in on them too much and they have to knock it off. So what do? There's a lot of things they could do. They can move to, 900 or 1,500 miles away, wait 2 or 3 years, and start doing it over there again, and it'll look like a completely different serial killer. Change their MO, you know. They could go to another country. They could go to Canada. They could go to Mexico. And, it just, who knows what they do, Don't know. But anyway, back to so for things in the world to change, it's probably going to pretty much need to involve the United States, the daughter of Babylon, getting hit. And I suspect Iran is going to be in on it as well. Somehow it'll be happening. So I'm looking for the attack on the daughter of Babylon and an attack on Iran in the coming days. But in any event, the daughter of Babylon, because that getting hit opens up the door for the Muslim nations surrounding us to do the siege in a big enhanced way. Okay? Syria will turn against us, Iraq and Lebanon and Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and Egypt's already in place, Jordan is Ammon and Moab, Edom is Yemen. Saudi Arabia is called Dedan. It's really Arabia. Saudi is the name of the family that owns the country. It's their, corner grocery store, so to speak. And that's what we're going to see. The Day of Vengeance over the controversy of the Day of Vengeance, year of recompense over the controversy of Zion. All these nations are squatting in Israel land and don't want to give it back and never want to leave, and they want to keep pumping the oil, and, that just doesn't work with Jehovah. That's it. Cut and dry. So they get it. But I think the daughter of Babylon is going to get it first. Maybe the daughter of Babylon is going to turn on Israel, but it's probably going to do that. See, if the DOB is getting hit, their fleets and 58,000 soldiers and aircraft and boats and everything else are stuck here in the Middle East. What are they going to do? They'll get destroyed. The whole American military will get destroyed. So China, for that to happen, China's got to take them out in the Asia-Pacific region. Russia and somebody else has to take them out in Europe. So This whole deletion of the American military could take, a few weeks or days, or I don't know. I don't know. And that would be a really good time for Elijah to start working openly, because the attention of the Arab states and the world isn't going to be so heavily focused on Israel. They're going to be focusing on what's happening in America, and people are going to freak out, not just in America, all over the place. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more it looks like that on the day of vengeance, Jeremiah 30:11 happens, and Jehovah does it. Because I don't think they can destroy each other in a day. How? How can they do that? And then again, if he destroyed all these nations in a day, everybody would know he is Jehovah. But if they just started having a chain of wars and volleys and, it wouldn't look like he's Jehovah. They wouldn't give him credit for it. They wouldn't fear him. They would just think that the people were crazy and killed each other. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see that. In my mind, I think all roads point to daughter of Babylon getting it. And also Iran may get it at the same time. They may dish it out while they're getting it. Look at Ukraine and Russia. They're both getting it. Okay? Like that. He said he'll bring them in like caterpillars. That's your sleeper agents. There's millions of them. Trump never got them out. Trump doesn't even talk about it since he got into office. He did before, but he won't talk about it anymore. How's he doing with Greenland? How's he doing with Canada being a state, Mexico a state? How's he doing with his tariffs? How's he doing? He's doing pretty crappy, isn't he? I think Germany's canceled their auto production in America. There was plants in America for, I know, like BMW and Mercedes were being made in America. I think they're shutting those down because of Trump's tariffs. They're probably not going to sell the plants. They're probably just going to lay the people off and stop production. So even Germany's going against America. They're all going against America. I don't think America's NATO allies are going to come to the aid of America when she gets hit. They're too mad over the tariffs. So the other thing I want to remind you of is the 4 workmen. And we see that, I believe, in Zechariah 1. It could be 2. I keep getting confused, but I think it's 1. Zechariah 1:12, we'll start there. Then the angel of the Lord answered and said, O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years? These 70 years. Now, this was Babylonian captivity it was referencing, not the second 70. Okay. And Jehovah answered, as I see it anyway, and Jehovah answered the angel that talked with him, with me, with good words and comfortable words. That's how North American Indians would speak, you know, good, comfortable words. How about that, huh? So the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. That means you're jealous, you want something. He wants it back with him. That's great. And I am very sore displeased. Now that's way undermined. It's like I am super mad, okay, with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction against the Jews, killing them, burning their houses, confiscating their goods, Therefore, thus saith Jehovah, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. That's the glory of God of Israel, who has the name Jehovah in him. With mercies for us. My house shall be built in it. And the word for built is established. It doesn't mean that we're going to go out with John Deere equipment and build it. They twist this around to play into Schofield and Darby. My house, and it's called a house, a bite, because the glory of God of Israel lives in this one, shall be built in it. Saith, established in it is what I would look at it. Saith Jehovah of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and Jehovah shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Okay? That's when he says comfort Zion, you don't know how good that is. That's really good. Then lifted I up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, 4 horns. Now, a horn is what an animal or a beast fights with. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. So that is going back over time in the past, because today the only ones that it would be scattering is Judah and Jerusalem, but here it's talking about Israel also, the 10 tribes. So this is back in time quite a ways. But he's paying them back for the controversy over Zion. Okay? And Jehovah showed me 4 carpenters. Okay? It's also translated as workmen. Then said I, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah. These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head, so you walk with your face down. But these are come to fray them. Fray's not the right translation. Terrify them. To cast out the horns of the Goyim, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. This is likely the nations around Israel that are attacking it today. It's saying Judah, and they want to scatter it. They want to get the people to leave Israel. It didn't work, but who is this? Well, we could, look at Egypt. You could look at Gaza. You could look at Lebanon. That's 3. You could look at Syria. That's 4. You could look at Yemen. That's 5. You could look at Iran. That's 6. Iraq is 7. Then add in, Jordan and Saudi Arabia, because they'll turn, and you're up to 9. So which would the 4 be? I don't know. The dominant ones are right now would be Iran, Yemen, Gaza, and Lebanon. That's the ones that were doing the most trouble. Iran, Yemen, Gaza, and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Maybe Iran is just their backer, so they're not in on it. And if that's the case, then I think we would go with Yemen, Gaza, Lebanon, and perhaps Iraq or Syria. It's very difficult. Who are the 4 workmen? Well, that I again will explain. I believe you have Elijah, Enoch, those are the 2 witnesses, the anointed prince. Now, if he's called an anointed prince, he's anointed like the others, and that makes 3, and then comes Apostle John. That's 4. That's who I think it is. I have no other explanation for that. Let me look at the live stream real quick. I don't believe I have any questions here. Okay, let me see if there was some other stuff I wanted to cover. Check my notes. If the daughter of Babylon gets hit, it will change the world. Remember, in these trying times, who did Jesus tell you his real family was? The fellow believers in him were his real family. Remember that. That's how you need to be. You know, with Bible prophecy from Revelation 17 and 18, it looks like the beast is on Satan's side because Satan gives him his power and authority and seat. So the beast was supporting the daughter of Babylon, Washington, D.C. The problem that I believe Satan and in turn the beast have is that they're nervous about having the fake Israel that America has created back in 1948 and forward, you know, where Satan bots are running the country and the people are following the rabbis with another gospel and they're, you know, messed up and everybody thinks they got an Israel, you know. But Satan's nervous about them now. Look how well we did in the last year and a half or so with all the wars, and he's very worried and he thinks he's better off now without any Israel. So his chosen people, the Muslims that hate us and attack us, is what he wants to run with for now. So the beast is going to burn her flesh and eat her, the daughter of Babylon. So it appears his chosen people, the Muslims, will be doing it amongst others that are also hating America. So that's what it looks like, spiritually like that. Okay? So that's what I got. So be ready. And we're not, I don't believe we're headed into the appearing in the next few days, but we're going to be getting a lot closer. Remember, we have, you know, we have to see the DOB go, and then things will probably happen extremely fast. And I mean extremely fast. Not like anything we've ever seen before. Fast. Okay? So, there you have it. So, please pray for me, Moshe, me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. She's going to be traveling in the coming days, so pray a traveler's prayer for my wife, Rivka. Pray for peace of Jerusalem. Pray for us to get more insights about prophecy and the Bible in general, and pray for better teachings, and pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. And I've been sleeping better by the days, but I appreciate more prayers for sleeping to get even better yet. It's been pretty good. I feel really good. And pray for, what else? Pray for all the true believers to get through these days ahead. And I don't think they're going to be that hard. They might be shocking or something to some people, but they're not going to be that hard. He's not going to make it that hard on you. Okay? But the appearing may be some days after, not a lot of days, a very small amount of days after the DOB gets hit. So be prepared for, I don't know for sure about this, but be prepared for things to go very fast after that. I mean very fast. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I hope you got something out of this. And I'm out. Thanks.